instead of we are young and free, we are one and free. One word, but might make a really positive difference. What do you make of that?
I think it sounds fairly attractive, actually. I'd like to see God in there somewhere. You know, Girt by sea. What the hell does that mean? That's stupidity. Built by God, I think, would be. But the other thing is, it is actually a bit pointed the other way. So I think that'd be a good move, yeah.
A good move for one and free. You'd be happy with that?
Yeah.
Are you saying God would need to be in there as well for you to suggest it? That's just a bit of a...
one of the very few anthems on earth that doesn't have reference to the Creator in there. You know, Girt by sea. Well, I just always sing it built by God instead of Girt by sea. So,
plenty of Australians
don't worry,
not religious, though. I mean, if you try to push that change at the same time, you'd have people offside, wouldn't you?
She's come up with an idea.
All right.
My initial reaction to it is positive.
China's relationship with Australia, the trade relationship, crucial as well. What do you make of the government handling of this? Because Labor has been critical, but plenty of experts suggest that merely because Australia has stood up to China on 5G, for example, on having an inquiry into COVID, that it doesn't matter how we do it, they are going to be put off and try to punish us. So it's a question of either standing up or having a better trade relationship but being compromised, if you like.
I get dragged into this through that story on 60 Minutes, and I was absolutely horrified at what I saw. They were in complete control of the University of Queensland, one of the top 4 teaching institutions in this country, which should be a nursery for freedom of speech. And here it is oppressing freedom of speech. But a lot of people now are talking to me, and their influence in numerous areas. These people are not stupid. They are, on a scale of 1 to 10, they come in at 10, and I think Europeans and Australasians and Americans come in at maybe 5 or 6. They're very, very sophisticated and very, very dangerous. And if you think they're not going to use trade as a weapon, you believe in the tooth fairy. We lost 30%, Tom, of our export market when Britain joined the common market. Jack McEwen, I sit under his picture, you've seen him in my office, he immediately went out there and drummed up trade with other countries. Now, why we concentrate on China is beyond my imagination, and I have to be suspicious that there's a little bit of this going on.
What do you mean by that?
There are people benefiting by it. I mean, there was a minister...
Well, there are a lot of people benefiting, a lot of exporters.
Let me be very specific.
But the agreement itself, from when it was brought in, was a roaring success. And even, I think, this year we've had more exports to China.
I would disagree with that dramatically.
How is it not?
Well, we've put ourselves in the jaws of the tiger. You put all of your eggs in one basket.
Yes, but what I'm saying is the initial years, it certainly worked well as a free trade agreement. Perhaps a combination of government policy and what exporters have done.
You won't convince me of that, Tom.
Well, undeniably, trade increased massively to China.
Can I just put the point forward that why the hell are we looking to China all the time? Well, I mean, the bloke that looked to China and was responsible for all of this got a nice little job on $880,000 a year the next year. And that's why I say, you know, what is going on here? What is going on here? Now, there's the VIP countries. Please let me finish. The VIP countries, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, they are our neighbouring countries. And there's 700 million people living there. If you want to throw in Thailand and Japan, they're as big as China. So what are you running around, you know, grovelling on the floor to China the whole time?
Well, we already... the coalition also secured a free trade agreement with Japan.
We have had free trade with Japan for forever. I mean, it was just a silly little...
Well, but hang on, but a whole lot of tariffs got changed and improved because of that agreement.
Well, Thomas, what I'm saying is that you follow the McEwen pathway. You build a diversity of relationships. I mean, the aggressive actions in the South Pacific, people have no idea just how aggressive and effective China is being there. So, I mean, please follow the McEwen example and go after, for example,
you've mentioned
for
countries there.
Britain's left the common market.
There's an agreement.
There and look
I
for
was just trying to
markets.
check where this started. So there's an agreement that has started with Indonesia this year. There's one with Japan from years ago. I mean,
But that doesn't achieve anything. There's not a single extra percentage point of increase. People will buy off you if you've got a cheap product that they want.
But that's
they won't buy if they don't.
Sorry.
The free trade agreement makes
that's
no
not
difference.
true. On Japan, it does. Japan has had a whole host of different areas with tariffs lowered, so Australian products are cheaper, and more of them have been exported to Japan. That's how these agreements work.
If I come back on your program, I'll have the figures, right? And you'll see that there's been no change whatsoever.
What do you mean?
Well, let me just give you a quick example, right? They wanted bananas to come in the Philippines into Australia. And they said, righto, well, if you're not going to give us bananas, we'll cut off your milk and beef, which they did, right? Which they did. So you said, free trade agreement, they wouldn't have cut off our milk and beef.
What do you mean they couldn't get our bananas?
The people arguing this said, they are buying our beef and our milk because we're handy, we have the product they want. And no matter what they say, in a few months' time, they'll be back buying it again. And that's exactly what happened. They gave you a bit of a touch-up and thought, well, Australia's not going to be browbeaten. And then they went back to buying our milk and our beef.
But just on this broad topic, because you started saying we've got too many eggs in the China basket, what about these other agreements? I pointed out two of the countries you mentioned we have agreements with, and then you said, well, the agreements do nothing.
Tom, the free trade agreements are not worth 2 bob. They are not worth 2 bob. You are out there aggressively selling your products, right? Not aggressively selling a free trade agreement that isn't worth 2 bob. I mean, do the Americans worry about the free trade agreement when they had steel and aluminium under attack? No, couldn't care less about it. You know.
Well, our aluminium steel was protected under the US.
But the free trade agreement, they ignore it. I mean, they're supposed under the agreements, they were supposed to reduce their tariffs down by 36%. No country on earth reduced their tariffs except Australia and New Zealand. I mean, the government makes a big song and dance about it, Tom, but the reality is it makes no difference to world trade. You're going to buy the cheapest product and the best product that you want as cheaply as you can. Just
hold off there for a moment. I'm just going to bring to our attention, our viewers, some breaking news just coming in. Prime Minister Scott Morrison and President-elect Joe Biden have just spoken for the first time since Joe Biden's election win. These pictures, released by the Prime Minister's office, show the call that took place this morning. Mr Morrison says he looks forward to strengthening Australia's deep and enduring alliance and to working with him closely as we face the world's many challenges together. Mr Morrison is expected to expand on details of the call later today. So we do have a news conference scheduled later today from the PM, joining a lot of other world leaders to talk to Joe Biden, congratulate him, obviously. Do you agree with this position? I mean, Donald Trump's trying to say it's fraud, he's won the election. Do you agree we need to move on and say this election was, from what we know, fairly run, here's the result, and move on?
I strongly back Morrison on this. I don't always, but on this one, yeah, let's just get down to business. All right.
Can I ask you just finally for your views actually on what's been spoken about this week, MPs being in relationships, sexual relationships with staff members and the various levels of banning that have gone on. We had the 2018 ban from the government, but now Labor and the Greens moving as well. Where do you view this? Is there a power imbalance still that needs to be addressed? Is there a cultural issue with the treatment of women in Parliament?
Tom, I was, as a person, one of the 2 longest serving members of Parliament in Australian history, as a person that's seen it all over a long period of time, I was appalled at Bill Clinton in the United States. He was in such a powerful position to that young kid, and he completely destroyed her life and didn't even care about it. Didn't even care about it. And it was very gross reflection upon the American people that he could have got re-elected in that situation. So I think you're in a very... I strongly back up Turnbull. The only time in my life I've ever agreed with Malcolm Turnbull. But you're in a very powerful position. But I just thought the hypocrisy of that program on your competitor channel. I mean, I was recently with a prominent Liberal, and I said, you Liberals frown upon that sort of behaviour. In the ALP, it's expected of you, and the National Party is positively compulsory. He roared laughing. And Well, I suppose it is funny, but it's not all that funny.
I mean, isn't it the point that we're not meant to find it funny anymore, that this isn't an issue that needs to be addressed?
I mean, you know, what the good Lord say, the poor will always be with us. Well, this sort of thing will always be with us. I don't care what laws you pass. But you know, I think responsible behaviour dictates that you are in a very powerful position.
All right.
But boys will be boys and girls will be girls.
Is that really the line you want to end on?
I don't like
Boys will be
sneaking around
boys?
looking in. I don't like sneaking around and looking through the doorways or windows and these sort of issues.
But sorry, is that really the way you want to end it? Sort of boys will be boys, girls will be girls?
If you think that by passing those bonking laws you're going to stop this behaviour, I wish you well. That's how,
No, but from what you're saying, well, it'll happen. Oh, well.
No, just the opposite. I said I was absolutely appalled.
You did then, and yeah, you did, but then you said boys will be boys.
No. If you think you're going to stop it, you're going to stop people from being bad in the world, you're going to stop evil from happening.
Right, so you're saying you don't approve of it, but it will happen.
No, I don't approve of it.
Okay.
And definitely don't.
All right, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Bob Catter, talk again soon. Thank you.